Hello everybody, my name is Ashir, and in this video, let's go over the one new game that everyone should try at least once, especially when you're brand new and you don't know what you're doing. And that is Flight School.
Tired of
Let's just jump right into it. If you're brand new to the game, don't know what you're doing, make sure to turn off all your mods and just try do Flight School first to get an understanding of how to fly around. And start going through your settings and set it up the way you want.
Hi, I'm Jace Winger, your flight instructor for today. We'll be running through the full lesson plan, but if you're already familiar with some of the basics, you can talk to me about skipping ahead. Before we begin, I need to perform a few routine physical tests. Regulations, you know. Please move your head as far up or down as you can. Okay, now please walk a few steps. Okay, now do a few jumping jacks, please. Finally, a few squats, please. Great. You seem to be in good physical shape, so we can move on to your flying lessons. Let me know how you want to proceed. Yes?
So from this menu, you can skip to any part of the tutorial. So if you had a mod, let's say that breaks the spacesuit section, specifically the lockbox part, and then you realize that that mod is breaking the tutorial, turn that mod off and skip right back to the spacesuit part. Anyway, we're going to do it all just to get it all out the way.
We'll start by using the transporter room outside to go to the docking bay.
You can use the keyboard arrow keys on this menu if you didn't know, and the enter key, or you can just use the mouse.
From here, you need to embark and take the controls.
Quasar, Vanguard.
You are cleared for undocking. Proceed.
So the tutorial will teach you a lot of the hotkeys that you have assigned in your settings menu. So that's really useful to start building up that muscle memory, because you're going to be undocking a lot.
Use the steering controls to turn your ship.
I had forgotten that this was a thing. I don't like to steer like this. It feels wrong. Not only can this be turned off in the options menu, you can also assign it to a
Now, use
hotkey.
the strafing controls to move sideways or vertically. Okay, before we continue, make sure there's no obstacle right in front of you. I can't check from here, so I have to trust you on this one. When you clear, gently accelerate forwards. There's usually a speed limit inside docking areas, but you don't have to worry about exceeding it. The ship's computer will limit the speed for you. You can also fly backwards. Try this now. Your ship sensors are all well and good, but sometimes it can be useful to get a more direct look at things. First, look around your cockpit. There are many different kinds, but ship cockpits often provide a wide field of view outside the ship.
Now then, you may notice that some of the hotkeys that it is showing on screen are different from the ones you have set up.
You can also look at your ship from the outside with the magic of camera drones. Try it.
And I recommend looking at my rebinding your hotkeys to make it easier for mouse and keyboard flight if all you have is a mouse and keyboard. I also don't normally play with the numpad because I'm using a 10 keyless keyboard. So I don't actually have a physical numpad. And that's okay. You can continue on and play the game all the way through to the end without that. So you don't need the numpad. It's just a nice feature.
Fly around a bit to get a feel for how it behaves. You can also cycle into a different external camera mode. Try the camera controls now.
You can control the camera with numpad from this view if you have a numpad. Or if I enable my,
This also works on targets within range. For now, return to the normal cockpit view to move on.
if I enable my separate key profile, I can then use different keys as the numpad on my keyboard. Neat.
You can even tell a camera drone to stay in a fixed location. Try this now. The controls here behave a little differently. Play around with them now. Return to cockpit view to move on. If you'd like to see what's in front of you with fewer obstructions, you can even make the cockpit practically invisible to you. Is there anything camera drones can't do? Try it now. Please fly out of the docking area now. So let's practice what you've learned so far. I've prepared a little course for you. Please fly close to each of the navigation beacons in turn. Your next target will always be marked in orange. Your ship also has a boost function. Boosting drains your shield, so use it wisely. You may also notice that it has set your speed to maximum. This is normal and will only persist until you change speed again. Some pilots even find it a convenient way to set their speed to maximum. Don't worry, you're not being timed. This next thing is something you are going to be using a lot. I've marked a remote location for you to fly to. Don't worry, I don't expect you to crawl there at your base speed. First, please align your ship so it points roughly towards the target. Now, activate travel mode. Depending on your engine type, it may take a little time to get started. Look at your speed bar just below the crosshairs. You will keep accelerating for a while until you reach your ship's top travel speed. You've probably noticed other modes in the list when you activated this one. Each mode has its special use, and only one mode can be active at a time. Now that you've gathered some speed, you'll notice that steering has become much harder. This is why it's best to point your ship towards your destination before engaging travel mode. Now, turn off the mode the same way you turned it on. You are now coasting, which means a few things. First, your ship is decelerating much more slowly than it normally would. Second, steering is easy again. Give it a try now. Third, you've probably noticed that your ship keeps flying in the same direction. You can come to a stop much more quickly by actively decelerating. This automatically re-engages the safety limits on steering. Try it now. As for the travel direction, any strafe movement will revert that to the behavior you're used to. Do this now. You can also drop out of travel mode more quickly, skipping the coasting phase. Let's try this now. Please reactivate travel mode. Now wait until you've built up some speed. Whenever you're ready, quickly drop out of travel mode. Great! The next part will take place some distance from here, so let's take a break and let the autopilot do the hard work for now. The autopilot automatically navigates to the current objective. It engages travel mode when appropriate and makes use of gates, accelerators, and highways. It even avoids obstacles in the way. Well, mostly, which is why you still need to be at the controls. You may notice that it sometimes turns travel mode off when everything seems wide open to you. The safeties are on a bit of a hair trigger, probably to keep insurance rates from skyrocketing. While we wait, let's check out your logbook. There are several menus you can access this way. Open the one that's highlighted now. Here you have access to details about your current status and statistics. The logbook is highlighted. Open it now. As you can see, there are several categories. You can select one to filter the entries or look at all of them at once. Most of the tips you've seen up until now have been added to the logbook. You can always go back and reread them if you feel like you've missed or forgotten something. Take your time looking around these menus. Close them when you're ready to move on. If you're getting bored, you can disable the autopilot at any time and fly the rest of the way yourself.
No problem, just using autopilot the whole way here.
Good, you've arrived. There's a ship next to you. Its color on your HUD indicates that it's not hostile. Please select it as your target.
Now, normally people will click on this directly, but if it's behind you or somewhere out of your vision, you can click on the radar.
Cargo.
Match speed with your target. By the way, matching speed is even possible when both you and your target are in travel mode. I've now activated your primary weapon. The small dots that have just appeared indicate where the weapons are currently aiming. They will automatically track your current target as long as it's close enough. There are a handful of targets in front of you. Their HUD color indicates that they are enemies. Note that the HUD markers of some targets are smaller. These targets are currently outside your weapon range. Select the closest enemy target. A new HUD element has appeared right in the center of the target. This is the aim ahead indicator. It shows you where you need to aim, which is especially useful if the target is moving. Slowly cycle through all the targets.
Cargo.
When a target outside your weapon range has been selected, you can see the weapon indicators becoming darkened. The aim ahead indicator also changes its appearance. Select the closest enemy target again and shoot at it until it's destroyed.
Cargo drone.
So the aim ahead indicator that he's talking about is that white X
Cargo drone.
and that white circle going around the dot, in case that was confusing. And none of these targets are moving, so the aim ahead indicator is locked on to the target. But when it is moving, it will do what the name implies and be ahead of the target.
Keep destroying the targets. You'll need to move closer in order to hit some of them. If you look to the right of your crosshair, you will see bars next to your weapons that gradually fill up when you are firing. This is heat. It automatically dissipates when you stop firing. This happens more slowly if there are multiple weapons cooling down at the same time.
Look, moving targets.
Cargo
So the
drone.
aim ahead indicator is aiming ahead. And the weapon is locking onto it.
This target is much sturdier than the others. Look at the blue bar above the target. This is its shield strength. After a few seconds without damage, it will begin to recharge. All shields work like this, including your own. I've now activated your secondary weapon, a missile launcher. It's loaded with a type of guided missile that requires a target lock. Please select the target in front of you.
Cargo drone.
You can now see a lock being acquired. You may fire when ready.
You can see what happens when I lose lock, so I have to stare at him the whole time, I guess. Either that or missiles are just that bad.
Cargo drone.
The target has dropped something. Fly right at it to pick it up. It's another type of missile. It has been automatically added to your ammunition storage. Missile launchers have limited ammunition. You can see the number of remaining missiles to the left of your crosshair. Let's go into more detail about your weapons. Open the ship menu. We'll focus on the highlighted weapon configuration section. Each installed weapon has its own row. The squares in each row show you which weapon groups that weapon is part of. You can assign any weapon to any weapon group. You can also change the ammunition that's loaded into your missile launchers. Try it if you like. Close the menu to move on. You can quickly cycle through your configured weapon groups. Please activate each primary group at least once. You can also cycle through the available ammunition for any active missile launcher here. Try this now. It takes a little time for the new missile type to be loaded into the launcher. This concludes the weapons tutorial. There's a capital ship nearby. Please approach it.
Yo, what am I firing right now? What was that? Heavy guided missile. That was a heavy. Whew. There are even more crazier missiles to discover than just those ones.
Nomad. Vanguard.
Get as close as possible to its surface. You can get much closer than that. Alright, now come to a stop. You are now flying relative to the ship thanks to special flight assistance software. This works for most things that are bigger than medium-sized ships. No matter what the capital ship does, you will move along with it. This is especially useful for combat as well for docking or undocking. I've set up some targets on the ship's surface. Please destroy them. Try to use the ship's surface as cover wherever possible. Your strafe thrusters are useful here.
Whoa.
Right. You're not in actual danger, by the way. We're only simulating damage to your ship.
Those turrets are extremely dangerous, actually, normally, so don't get used to being shot by those.
Autonomous distress drone. Autonomous distress drone.
I want you to notice how slow firing that green energy ball launcher is. And right now, how that red bar on the right hand side, it overheated and it took an exceedingly long time to cool off enough to fire again. Don't worry about losing reputation with factions in the tutorial because
Now,
it
fly
isn't
away
the
from the
actual
ship's
universe.
surface until it leaves you behind.
Losing reputation with any faction in the tutorial does not
Find
matter.
the next objective. You may use travel mode or the autopilot if you like.
Just trying to get that out there. Because the reason it doesn't matter is the tutorial is not a fully simulated game. It only has a few systems. Because you're actually meant to start a new game and play a new game, and not just the tutorial the whole time.
This wreck has something inside it. Your ship will not fit, so you're going to have to get out of your ship and do a spacewalk. Move a little closer to the indicated position and park your ship there. Please get up and leave the ship in your spacesuit.
Quasar. Vanguard.
And when you're sitting, you can also press Control and D or whatever you assign that hotkey to stand back up. You're looking for this when you do this tutorial, by the way.
You've probably noticed that you keep moving in the same direction. That's because spacesuits don't have flight assistance and are limited to Newtonian flight. Any directional input, whether it's strafing, accelerating or decelerating, will push you in that direction. I'll let you try it out for a little while. While you do that, your spacesuit is equipped with a small hand laser. Please don't try to use it in fights with actual ships. You'd be pulverized immediately. You also have a repair tool. This tool works on most damaged objects, as long as they're not actually wrecked. This thing is beyond repair, though. Much better. I think you're ready for some maneuvering. Please fly inside the wreck using the indicated entry point. There's an access hatch, but it's malfunctioning. Look for a broken control panel and use your repair tool to fix it. Now, fly into the corridor. You may have noticed the oxygen indicator, which is slowly going down. There's no need to worry about it. You will be back in your ship with plenty of time to spare. There's another broken control panel. Repair this one as well. There's a lockbox here. What a lucky find. Please activate your weapon and carefully shoot off all the locks. Ship weapons also work, but you have to be much more careful with those. Lockboxes are fragile, and some even explode. Congratulations, you did it. You may keep the item for yourself after you're finished here. Please leave the wreck and return to your ship now.
Now then, remember what he just said. Ship weapons also work when opening lockboxes. But you have to be more careful, because ship weapons deal a lot more damage.
The spacesuit is also equipped with a booster. You can use it now to reach your ship more quickly. Be careful though, it's easy to overshoot or crash into your target that way. I see you're already familiar. Now, follow the green lights to the dock and fly inside. While the feeling of flying your spacesuit is fresh in your mind, let's try the same with your ship. Please turn off flight assistance now. I'll give you time to play around with it. Re-enable flight assistance when you want to move on to the next step.
So if you ever played Elite Dangerous before, you probably already know how to fly around in Flight Assist off mode. And you can do some very neato fancy flying tricks with Flight Assist off. And more than likely, you can do the same neato fancy tricks in Star Citizen as well. So if you've learned some fancy flying tricks using Flight Assist off, go ahead and show them off, or just have fun with them.
The next part is technically against the rules, so you didn't hear it from me. We'll combine two of the things you've learned, aimed at empty space, and activate travel mode. Build up some speed. Now, turn off flight assist. Your speed is no longer increasing. More importantly, though, your ship is very maneuverable again. It takes some practice, but you can use this for significant course corrections during travel mode. Try this now by aligning to the new objective, then re-enabling flight assistance. I find it really fun to drift my way to jump gates at high speed that way, but do be careful and practice in a safe environment first. I don't want to hear about you turning your ship into a pancake, right? Right. Now that the exciting part is over, let's wind down with something a bit calmer. Fly to the marked station.
So before we do that, this is actually a pretty important skill to learn, even though it's technically against the rules. No one's even gonna bother you about it, and none of the police will even care. So use it as much as you want. This is actually a really important skill to learn, is turning off flight assist while in travel mode, and then turning it back on to change your direction. This will be useful for every ship you fly, including the large ones.
Now that you're in range, you can interact with it to request docking permission, just like you did with your ship from the spacesuit.
I pushed the hotkey too quickly, but I'll show this way of doing it here.
Follow the trail of lights to your assigned dock.
The Shift D key by default
Docking aborted. Docking granted.
is the hotkeys to press if you want to request docking
Turn your
permission.
ship in the indicated direction. You should now be able to see an abstract representation of the docking bay and your position relative to it. Each element must be aligned before you can dock. When aligned, the elements change colour from red to green. I usually align my orientation first. Begin by moving the centre of your crosshair to the matching element in the docking UI.
I just really want to emphasize how each one turns green when you're in the right spot.
If you can afford them, there are software upgrades that make this process a bit easier. Now that you're docked, you can do a number of things right here from your ship. The ship information menu shows you all kinds of things about your ship. Take a look at it now. This is where you can buy and install various upgrades for your ship, including the docking software that I mentioned earlier. Feel free to try this out now. Now that you're docked, you can do a number of things right here from your ship. The ship information menu shows you all kinds of things about your ship. Take a look at it now. Below the general information, you can see your cargo storage. It's separate from the ammunition bay, and there are even more types of storage that we're not using at the moment. Small items picked up from crates or lockboxes, on the other hand, are stored on your person and move with you between ships. You can access your inventory via the Player Information tab. You can close this menu now. You might have seen that your ship is carrying some energy cells. If you want to, you can sell these here using the trade menu. Open it now. This is where you can trade wares with the station. Your cargo is on the left-hand side and the station's buy offers are on the right. Because this is a wharf, it doesn't have any products for sale in here, but it does want to buy a lot of different resources. Energy cells, for example.
So actually knowing that the hotkey or the arrow keys are available to use in these type of menus is actually really neat, because when you try to click and drag on this bar, if you'll notice, sometimes it'll just jump the number to that, when what you really meant to do was click and drag. And this can be incredibly frustrating if you try to do this method, clicking and dragging, on bars where you can't change the number anymore after you set it. For instance, managing your plots for building stations. If you mess up in that menu, more often than not, you're going to cost yourself a whole bunch of money and you're going to hate it.
Wharves and shipyards also buy used ships. The beauty you're sitting in is actually mine, though, so don't even try selling it. You can keep trying out these menus if you'd like. Undock when you're ready to proceed.
I'm going to try selling a ship because he told me not to.
This ship will be undocking soon.
Uh-oh.
Hello. Hello.
I sold the ship. But that's okay, because the tutorial is more or less complete. And he was just going to give us control of other ships. So I'm going to see what happens when the ship undocks. And yes, you can fly on somebody else's ship. Good to know for the future.
Now, here's a little thing that many pilots don't use, but if you do end up liking it, you'll really appreciate it. Depending on how you've set up your flight controls, you might only have convenient control over 2 steering axes rather than all 3. This is fine for most pilots. However, with many ship configurations, rolling is much more effective than yawing, or vice versa. This is where adaptive steering can help. When turned on, the primary steering axis will be set to whichever one is best for your current ship configuration. I've turned on adaptive steering and changed the thruster configuration of your ship to favour rollover yaw. Fly around a little to get a feeling for it.
Then there's the adaptive steering he's talking about. I personally don't favor it, but it is a way to control a ship, if you like. There's one of the better ships to get. Here's one of the most common ships to start out with. Let's try something fun that I never fly.
And that concludes your training. Feel free to roam around and practice some of what you've learned. I've set up a selection of ships for you to try out. You can teleport between them using the map. Sorry, no capital ships. You'll have to save up for your own. When you feel ready to move on, you can either try out some of the advanced tutorials or put your skills to the test in the real world. Goodbye, and good luck out there.
Oh, well. Hey, look, the ship I was going to buy anyway.
Nova. Vanguard.
Oh, good, adaptive steering is not turned on. What that does is it makes it, when you move your mouse, instead of turning left and right, when you move your mouse left and right, it does this number. And I don't like the way that steers. It don't feel right to me, because I've been playing without it.
Elite. Vanguard.
Ooh, this has specialized weapons on it. These weapons do special things. Like
Cerberus.
this.
Vanguard.
Or actually, you can't test it on this ship because it's a medium ship. You need a large ship for that. Neat. Now then, the tutorial, once you get control of this is done and over. So now, the final thing to do once you're done with the tutorial is to exit game and return to the start menu. Congratulations, you've completed the tutorial. You're now ready to try out a new game. Which new game, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Tired of
Here you
waiting for
ask.
show?
Let's try the combat tutorial. That's right, the tutorial isn't fully done yet. There's still a few more to try.
Approaching accelerator.
Take us through. Once we clear the accelerator, set a course for the shipyard.
Acknowledged.
Pilot, head to the bridge. We need you on standby.
Sir,
Ah, pilot. Good timing.
Xenon miner spotted.
Good. Our first catch of the day. Move to intercept. You better get down there, pilot.
Ooh, this is a fancy looking ship.
Prepare undocking procedures.
Ooh, and it's got the fancier version of the Terran basic weapons. Ooh.
Ukri.
Cleared for undocking.
Docking position clear.
S.
You are free to engage.
Target eliminated.
Resume course and keep an eye on sensors.
P. N. N.
That's one down. Good shooting.
P. N.
Oops, sorry.
That's the last of them.
Well done, everyone.
The shipyard is hailing us. Putting it through. Enemy spotted. Requesting immediate backup.
We've received your call. We're on the way. Helm!
Activating travel drive.
Oh, it's even the Mark II version of the fancier gun. Notice that as this gun fires, it takes a break to stop shooting for a while, but it's not fully overheated yet. There are two different cooldowns on this gun.
Take out their turrets.
The attack cycle, where it cycles where firing, and then when it is forced to stop shooting for a brief moment and then attack again. And then there's the actual overheating when the guns are too hot and need to cool off before firing. It's a little confusing and it makes explaining it super hard, but it is what it is.
N.
Of course, there would be an N shooting at me while I'm trying to rip off the weapons of the ship.
Explosion imminent. Hull damaged.
What is exploding? Oh, the station's exploding. Because the weapons on this bad boy are dangerous as all get out. And I don't mean my ship. I mean those or those towers, right? Turrets, not towers. Those turrets that are shooting, exceptionally dangerous. They're way overpowered.
They're targeting the bombers. Pilot, protect them.
Defense drone.
I'll make sure you regret that.
Defense drone. Defense drone.
Hey, will you stop firing?
Defense drone. Defense drone. Defense drone.
Useless pile of junk hardware.
Defense drone. Defense drone. K.
Make sure they don't try to run. Pilot, target their engines.
K.
Get spaced.
Oh, everybody else already shot their engines. There are two really nice juicy targets underneath the shield generators. And then, don't be right next to the cave as it's getting shot by missiles,
N.
because turns out missiles do AoE damage. And if you're right next to a missile exploding, you will take damage. I know, it's amazing how that works, right? I was shocked too.
Defense drone.
And by shocked, I meant blown up my first time.
N.
Yeah, it turns out when something explodes, it doesn't just damage, one thing that's right next to it. It damages everything caught in the explosion. Well, good to know.
K.
I'll wipe you out.
N. N.
Now then, maybe this ship will actually wake up and decide to do something.
We can't afford to lose that station.
A cap ship is finishing construction and preparing to launch.
All the more reason. Give them hell.
Get spaced.
Now then, the NPC pilots will eventually blow it up.
Tokyo.
Oh, hey, that's carrier. And my ship is slightly damaged.
Docking granted. Successfully docked.
You really didn't want to do that.
It won't repair me. Really? Are we like on the same team in this one? Ooh, there's a second kukri.
Malfunctioning circuit.
Where's that at? What weapon loadout does this kukri have? Proton barrage. Same guns? No. Yep, same weapon setup. So I guess it doesn't matter if this ship blows up because you got a whole other one over there. Oh, right.
Docking position.
Zoom.
You are free to engage.
Hey, look. The destroyer actually showed up to live up to its namesake. So it might be a good idea to move away from the Xenon K.
Prepare to eat vacuum.
I expected those guns to
It's
rotate
going to blow!
Clear the
when they
area.
fired.
Good work, everyone. Comms. Ask the station if they require further assistance.
Congratulations, the combat tutorial is now over. And all you gotta do is exit to main menu and start a new game, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because, yes, you can start a new game, and advanced gameplay will tell you about what the name says on the tin. Now then, for the advanced gameplay tutorial, if you want to watch a video that I make over how to do advanced gameplay, watch one of my playthroughs. There are 2 on the channel available to watch. And I get into a lot of different advanced gameplays. They are 2 very different playstyles, so yeah, please give them a look. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like. If I got something wrong or you want to just say hi or anything, leave a comment down below. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.